The game we've been waiting for is finally going to be here. Miami hosting Notre Dame tonight at the Hard Rock. And we're going to talk about this game. Start time 7:30 p.m. at the Hard Rock. Let's jump right into it. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on what I got to say about this game. But let's jump right on in, man. There's no point wasting time. Notre Dame is coming in as a 2.5-point favorite into Miami. The last time these two teams met up, Miami slaughtered Notre Dame 41-8. That was the night that Miami wore all black. That was in their 10-0 start in 2017 before the wheels fell off at the end of the year. But, man, that was a memorable game in the way Miami dominated Notre Dame. And as a Hurricane fan, we're hoping to see the same type of result. This time in the season opener, Notre Dame is coming off of going to the national championship, 14-2, had a sensational season last year, fell just a bit short against Ohio State, and they're ranked number 6. Miami's ranked number 10. This game, while, of course, now we have a playoff system of 12 teams, this game, to me, is vitally important for the Hurricanes, not so much for Notre Dame, because Notre Dame gets Notre Dame privilege. They get a privilege of it doesn't matter that they lost to Northern Illinois in their second game of the season last year, at home, no less. Whereas, if they lost to Miami, people would say, okay, it's Miami. It's a rivalry type of game, and it was a road game. Miami, on the other hand, needs to beat Notre Dame as a resume builder, because other than that, Miami plays Florida at home, and then we found out today that FSU might be better than we thought they were with their win over Alabama, although I think Alabama is actually worse than people thought it was. However, you got Florida State, but the rest of the schedule really isn't all that crazy. When you look at Miami's football schedule, they don't play Georgia Tech. You got South Florida. You got Louisville. That could be a decent game. You got SMU will probably be the biggest game on the schedule besides Notre Dame and Florida. It's the biggest game in the ACC outside of Florida State. And being that you don't know what you can get out of Florida State, even though they won today, this game for Miami is critical. Miami, I'm going to be real, I think Miami has to win this game. And with all the trash talking being done by podcasters from Notre Dame, calling them a bunch of unintelligent thugs, this thing is personal now. If it wasn't personal already, it's personal now. This is a lesson that these players have got to get right now from Miami. They need to be reminded about the 80s of Miami football, the rivalry with Notre Dame, not just the game from 2017. That's not the Miami Notre Dame thing. You got to go back to the 80s when it got real nasty out there. Let's take a look at this game, though. When you look at overall the matchups of this game, you have, Miami is coming in after going 10-3. Again, Notre Dame went 14-2. Miami, when you look at the quarterback situation, Miami has a clear advantage at quarterback. Carson Beck is a very experienced quarterback. He makes crisp throws, obviously hoping to see that he performs the way he performed 2 years ago, but more so that he performs and the receivers catch balls, because that's the one concern based on my conversations with Chris Stock from Inside You that exists for Chris is the receiving core. How does this receiving core stack up to what they did last year? You have a bunch of new guys. You lost Isaiah Horton, who went to Alabama. Don't know why. I still don't know why a guy who was really the most talented receiver that Miami had last year, why he would transfer. But he did. And he was clearly going to be the number one option this year. So that's disappointing. Xavier Restrepo is gone. All-American wide receiver. As sure-handed as it gets. Jacoby George, gone. So you lose all these guys. Now you have Sam Brown's gone as well. So all these guys are gone. You got to hope that JoJo Trader steps it up. He is critical to Miami's offense this year. He needs to perform. He needs to be the guy. You know, and that's really what it comes down to. Can the Miami wide receivers be that difference that they were last year? They were really good last year as a group. This year's group, you got CJ Daniels who transferred out of LSU. But other than that, there's a lot of question marks. A lot of question marks here. And Malachi Tony, how will he step in? Ray Joseph, how will he step in? So those are some questions that need to be answered. I think Miami's offensive line is in good shape. I think the running game is going to be solid behind a good offensive line. And really, obviously tight end is a question. Losing, Arroyo that's obviously a question. But look, it starts at quarterback, and I think Carson Beck is clearly the better quarterback in this matchup against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is starting a redshirt freshman. CJ Carr for Notre Dame hasn't taken a snap, hasn't played a game. And so you're going to find out. He's going to find out under pressure in the bright light of Hard Rock Stadium. He's going to find out what he's made of. Obviously, I don't expect Marcus Freeman to have him chucking the ball all over the field. I expect him to hand the ball off a ton to Jeremiah Love and the rest of their running backs. Jeremiah Love is a top shelf back who rushed for over 1,100 yards, 17 touchdowns. So they're going to have a contingent of running backs that are going to get the ball. And it's up to Miami's defensive line and front seven to make that difficult and make them throw the ball. I would almost consider stuffing the box with 8 and making CJ Carr throw the ball. Because if you can stop the run, he's going to have to air that ball out. And obviously, I also think it's critical that Miami scores first. Miami's got to get on the board. Miami's got to put pressure on Notre Dame. You're in Miami. The crowd gets going. It could be a wild ride. So I like the matchup, obviously, for Carson Beck as the experienced quarterback against the redshirt freshman with no experience whatsoever. I expect Carson Beck to be in control of the game. And I don't think he'll be rattled or anything or frazzled by the environment. Playing at Georgia, that's as big as it gets up there. So I think that this is a Miami. I think Miami will score points. I think Miami's going to score points. Notre Dame, I know, has a really good defense last year. How good is that defense this year? I think Miami's running attack will be effective behind a big offensive line. And then the defense is really the biggest question for the Miami Hurricanes to me. Will this defense be better than last year? One can only presume that Miami's defense is going to be better than last year. Can only presume that because the defense last year was horrendous. It was, it couldn't stop anybody. It was like watching Little League football players out there. So I think that's obviously a big situation with that defense is that it's better naturally. The fact that they're playing an inexperienced quarterback, I think, is very beneficial to the defense, to the secondary. Secondary should be better as well than it was last year. So, I think it's hard to imagine Miami's defense this season being worse or even the same as last year's defense. Front line, defensive line, Ruben Bain has got to dominate. Ruben Bain has got to be that guy. You see that jersey up in the top left corner of my screen right up there? Where is it? Where? Right up there. You see that? That's Warren Sapp, man. He got to be Warren Sapp. He's going to be that next Warren Sapp type of dude. Realistically, he's got to be that guy. Because as a freshman, he looked like a monster. Sophomore season had a slump, and we need Ruben Bain to be that dude. If he is that dude, Miami's going to be one heck of a football team. Obviously staying healthy as well. Linebacker play, we'll see. You got Mohamed Torre from what is that his name? Having talked to Chris Stock, I mean, that's going to be the guy who's going to lead the linebacker crew. Wesley Besaint, you're hoping he can be that dude, who's been here for a while and can make plays. So, obviously there's a big loss with you know, there's been losses, obviously, with situations in Miami's program with, I'm not sure where he was in the depth chart because they don't release a depth chart, but you have a top shelf linebacker that just obviously is dealing with a very tragic situation. So don't want to really get into that. But looking at Mohamed Toure, looking at Wesley Bissainthe, these guys have got to make plays. These guys have got to make plays. You need Justin Scott to make plays on the defensive line and Mod Moten, but really Ruben Bain is the guy on the defensive line. That said, I expect Notre Dame to get yards. They're going to get yards in the running game. It's about Miami really shutting that running game down and slowing it down as much as it possibly can. And I don't think there's going to be a major I don't think there's a major concern for passing the ball. When you have a redshirt freshman who hasn't played it down, you're going to get a lot of check downs, a lot of nerves, a lot of handoffs. You saw today's game with Ohio State and Texas. Is Arch Manning really that good? If you saw the game, you found out that dude is just a guy. I don't know why he was propped up by national media to be a Heisman Trophy candidate, the leader in the clubhouse, and that's just crazy to me. How can a guy who hasn't played a second of really any meaningful college football be the Heisman Trophy candidate leader? It's ridiculous. And he looked like certifiable garbage today. I don't think he's that good. You take away the last name Manning, and no one's talking about that dude. So you have a redshirt freshman who has played even less than him. I don't think Miami has to worry about anything going down the field for the most part, and they really just need to focus heavily on stopping the run. Stop the run, you win this game. Blunt. You stop the run or slow the run, you win the game. I'm gonna put it at these numbers. If you keep Notre Dame under 150 yards rushing, Miami's gonna win. Over 150, now we got something to worry about. Doesn't mean they're not gonna win. It just means that they're not doing what they need to do defensively to stop the run. Special teams, I have no idea. I'm gonna be real. I got no idea. We don't have Borregales boys anymore. We don't know what kind of kicker we're gonna have. Cross your fingers. Cross your fingers. Seriously, just cross your fingers. I'm hoping. I'm praying. I am praying. I hope that we have a kicker who can put the ball through. Realistically. Hoping that we have a kicker that can put the ball through. So, can Burt Auburn get the job done? We're used to those Borregales boys being almost automatic and having a leg that goes 55 yards for sure. And now we have a new kicker. Let's see what happens. We return Dylan Joyce as the punter, but this comes down to your place kicker. Obviously, you need to have a good place kicker. Can the Canes get good returns from the guys like Keelan Marion, Kalante Scott, and Malachi Toney? That's obviously going to be very important. So, with the question marks there, we'll see what happens. Now, obviously, a coaching matchup, Mario Cristobal and Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman just took his team to the national championship. Mario Cristobal has found ways to lose games, man. You got to keep it a buck. You got to call a spade a spade. He's found ways to lose games. Whether it's clock management issues, play call issues, all kinds of different issues through his first few years in Miami. It is unnerving watching him coach games that are close late in games. And I hope that he has figured out how to manage a clock. It's just that simple. I hope he's figured out how to manage a clock. And I know people can say it sounds so simple, but man, when you're looked at so closely for these types of errors, people are going to notice it, and that's really what it comes down to. Can Mario Cristobal do a good enough job coaching and managing his team, and not blowing situations with bad clock management and bad timeout usage? I think Miami's got good coordinators. I think they're going to be solid with the coordinators. But man, this is a game Miami has to win. Miami's got to win this game. If Miami loses this game, this could be an unfortunate, obviously it'd be an unfortunate beginning to the season, but it could be an unfortunate slide because there are games that are coming up after they play South Florida and Bethune-Cookman, or Bethune and South Florida, that they got to play Florida and Florida State back to back. coming off of a Notre Dame loss. How's confidence? So I think Miami gets the job done here. I think Miami finds a way to get this job done. I think Miami's going to put up points. I think the defense is going to be solid. I think we're going to see something similar to what we saw last year at Florida. Realistically, I think that Carson Beck is going to freaking wow some people. Receivers are going to step up, and maybe this is just me being an optimist. And I'm not that guy. I'm usually very, very pessimistic, but I think Miami's got the ability to take this game and put it away early. I'm thinking something like 31-17. So y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Are you going to the game? Definitely like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave a comment. Are you going to the game? Where are you going to be at? I'll be covering it finally. I got credentials, so we're gonna have a lot of Miami Hurricanes content coming up this year for football. So be sure to check us out here on Come On Now, the podcast on a daily basis. Like the video, subscribe to this channel, ring that bell. Appreciate y'all so very, very much. Again, this is Rudy Rodriguez Show. Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.